Welcome to Riverside Center for Innovation Boost Your Business webinar series. My name is James Myers Jr. I'm the Director of Community and Business Development at RCI. Tonight, you will be hearing a great presentation from my colleague, Shamira Williams. The topic for this evening is social media channels. When are they used and how? This will be a very informative conversation. Shamira is our subject matter expert for the evening. And with no further delay, I would like to introduce Ms. Williams.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Shamira Williams. I'll get into an intro in a second. First, we'll do a little bit of an overview of our objectives for the evening. This session is to learn about which social media channels to use to build your businesses, to build your online presence for your business. We'll start with some objectives and intros, do an overview, talk about our target audience, which channels to select, KPIs, and then do a wrap up. Feel free to drop questions in the chat as you go along. Hi, I'm Shamira Williams. I am an authentic change agent that builds digital citizens. I love to turn data into stories. I've run digital media literacy as well as literacy for adults and children. I have the power to take a raw data set and turn it into a beautiful visual or data story. I happen to harness the power of social media by using hashtags as well as other ways to tag the internet in order to harness my stories. I recently and formally co-founded a early stage startup as well. I am one of the designers on the Whoosh Interactive Table, and I am the founder of the Beauty of STEM. So I love to get to know people. Can you do me a favor and drop a song that motivates you in the chat? Everyone, no matter who you are, where you're from, socioeconomic status, everyone has a song that puts them in a mood to be excited. So I want to know which your song so that we can all be motivated together. I'll give us about 30 seconds to just drop songs in there. And at the end of the evening, I will create a playlist for us to be able to share and use to just be motivated with each other and continue on. That's my song. I would like to ask everyone, since we have a small group, if you could take a moment, take yourself off mute and tell me one sentence about your business and what social media channel you use most frequently for your business. We'll start with you, Tony, since you're already off mute.
Well, I'll go. Although I haven't I'm still in the early stages, starting out. I do have. I mean, my business is a home-based virtual assistant business,
Okay.
and so I'm still in the startup phase. And so right now I'm not on much media except for Facebook, and so I'm here tonight to give me an idea what's the best way, because I really don't have products to sell. I have to sell myself and my services, and I just need to find out what's the best media way to use to do that.
Okay. So if you just give me if everyone just gives me a one thing about what they do and then one social media they use, I will take that information, and as I go throughout my presentation today, I will try to actually give hints and tips that actually relate to you guys directly. Who wants to go next?
Hi, this is Tina Daniels, owner of Concrete Rose Construction. We're residential builders, and I use Facebook the most.
If you are in the transit and can't unmute, that is fine. We'll keep moving on. And if you decide that you want to join in, feel free to drop it in the chat. All right. So when building your social media presence, there's really 7 components that you really want to think about and look at. If you're a newbie and at the beginning, even if you're true to this and been doing this for a while, listen to your industry leaders and influencers. Who's the keynotes at all the conferences? Who's everybody following? Who are your influencers and keynote people? Because of social media now, you have the ability to go directly to somebody you would never ever think that you could actually get access to. So learning how to follow your industry leaders and influencers is key. Next, you need to create a persona profile, or think about it as, what do the people in your target audience look like? Then, once you know who's your industry leaders, who are the people you're trying to talk to, and you should have more than one persona profile, right? You should have the actual people who you want to be your customer, the people who actually will refer you, your community stakeholders, and people who would just invest in your company, whether they wanted to support you as an alignment for business partnership, or they were able to harness your brand and their brand. Those are the people who you want to actually think about persona profiles to, not just your client and your customer, because your social media needs to be a little bit diverse. You want to sell, but you also want to inform, and you also want people to just know that you are a trusted space. Then you can start to select what channels are going to work best for you. Every channel is not for you, and do not try to do too many channels. It's like having a good balanced diet, right? Or a balanced meal. You can't just load up all the potatoes on the plate. You need to actually have some vegetables to go with that and some protein, right? So you got to give it a little bit of a balance. That's what you need to do for your social media too. It can't all be sell, 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 come get my product. I'm an amazing person, or I got an amazing product. Sometimes you got to say, oh, I know an amazing colleague, or, oh, I have a great resource, or, oh, let me educate you on something else, or, oh, the community is doing this. So we'll talk about those things too. You are free to take notes, but I do know that James will drop the slide deck as well as the template after the session.
Yes, we'll do both.
Then you need to create a KPI strategy. And KPIs, your key performance indicators. Are you actually trying to measure who you're reaching, who you're converting to sales, or who you're engaging with? Because there are all 3 different ways to think about social media. Because reach is just about how many people seen the post. Engagement is more about how many people are actually talking it in the comments, right? And how did you move that conversation, right? Conversion is how many people clicked on the link that you put there to either buy something or set up a meeting with you. And so you want to think about that when you are developing your social media strategy. Can't all be one thing. Once again, we got to talk about the diversity of it. Monitoring your analytics is going to be key, because that's the data points. And that's where people get sometimes get overwhelmed at, because they're not technical. The reports aren't nice. They just don't know where to go. But we'll give you some quick tips of how to pull your analytics, or where you can see analytics at really fast, and give you a good overshot of how to go about reviewing them and tweaking your strategy. Your strategy should not be the same for years. Every quarter, you should look at your strategy. Things change, the community changes, the environment changes. What's happening changes. Like what's leading your industry changes about every 90 days. So think about that. What's going to come up and what's new? If you can be a leader in your industry, meaning you know stuff before it really hits the street, or you're early on it, that puts you in another category. Always want to be an industry leader. But when you choose to be an industry leader, be niche about it. So I happen to know what Concrete Rose does because I've seen their actual workplaces, and I've worked with RCI on some other stuff to see their work. They can, as construction changes, right, as season to season changes, they know that new things are going to be up and available for them to talk about. Winter preparation for residential construction is different than spring preparation. And so being able to play off that and know your market is just critical and key. Tweak it and repeat. What works, works. Leave it. Don't try to make it all grandiose and be like, if it works for you and you're getting great conversions on it or it's doing the reach you need, you don't have to change it. You need to tweak what you need to tweak though. I'll say this. Every 6 months, it is very useful. Grab a couple of people who are key engagers on your social media channels, whichever they are. Have coffee with them. Don't go big, just do a little coffee meet and greet. Find out why they're still using your social media, why they're engaged. What could you do better? How could you help them? Don't make it a form. I know you could send them a survey and you would spending the $5 on coffee with them or $10 at this rate is a much richer experience. It takes that digital experience and makes it human to human. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants that human to human experience. It's great that you're accessible online. It's great that I can get to you and find out the things that I need without having to ask you. But you making that little human touch to me goes big. Same thing with people who write reviews for you. You get a great review and you can find that person's address in your database because you're keeping track of people who are on your mailing list or people who've purchased items from you. Send them a handwritten note, buy a book of stamps. Social media is not all about just being online. It's about figuring out how to take your online presence and make it human to human. Because you want people to know behind this digital presence, there's a human being. And that you are putting up you're risking things, you're teaching them your story, you're showing them, you're letting them experience your experience with them. When you fail, they fail too. They feel that. When you succeed, they succeed. So they want to celebrate your wins and they want to be there when you stumble because they want to be encouraged. They want to see you get back up too. So you need to share those stories. And that don't mean tell all your business. That don't. There is a nuance to it. And sometimes you got to wait for the story to build. We always want to tell the stories and celebrate the wins fast. And sometimes you can celebrate small wins fast. But if you know you're working on something huge, when you know that, figure the benchmarks of when you could celebrate. Your VA, hey, you know that when you get to a certain point with your client, meaning that they're like, you didn't change the way they work, because that's what you do, is change the way people work. When you figured out, oh, Sally's emails is all automated, she got it, she's moving. You can actually see how fast, she can see how much faster she is turning around communication. Those are the wins you celebrate. And you don't got to tell all about your client's work, right? Things like, oh, I love when, when I organize somebody's inbox and they are much more, they're able to communicate with their key clientele. So those are the high level things that we can talk about. Let's get into a little bit of the nitty gritty. Listening to your target audience. I say that and people are like, okay, so what does that mean? Think of the conference that you would love to go to, especially the conference that you're like, when I'm at a certain point, I want a booth at this conference. Look at that conference. Every industry got a conference. find that conference, find the conference that's under that conference. You might not be able to afford to go to either of these conferences right now in your stage of your business. But look at who's going to be the keynote speakers. Look who got presentations. Look who they're highlighting. See those things and then look at that to see if those are the people that you want to start following, right? Look at who are your key influencers in your industry. Whose social media do you follow and everyone else is following? Write those people down. Use Google Trends to help you. Google has an alert system that is free that you can actually type in different industries and they will send you news information for those industries on the schedule that you stated. So if you're always looking for content, make the content come to you versus you looking for industry content. And they'll send it to you right on email. You don't got to do a lot of work. You can schedule it for 7 a.m. in the morning. Hashtags will make you win. I'm a hashtag hustler. Look, hashtags are designed for you to actually listen to a conversation. That's all it is. It's a way to take all of the news from the internet that is happening on a certain topic. If you are good enough, if you got a hashtag and you can create a buzz around your own hashtag, you are starting a conversation. Everybody who's going to use that hashtag wants to get in your conversation. If you see somebody else's, use it as a listening tool. And be specific. Don't just say Motivational Monday. Okay, Motivational Monday is going to get you a lot of stuff. But Tidy Tuesday, DV, that's data visualizations, Tidy Tuesday, where they're actually redoing data visualizations. But I know that because I follow data visualization people. So I know that Tidy Tuesday is a thing in that industry. Find your industry hashtags. Follow them. Listen to the people who are frequently using them. You will find out industry information early. You don't got to go looking for it. It will come to you. Twitter allows you to set up lists based on hashtag. LinkedIn allows you to set up some type of alert based on hashtags. Once again, don't overuse hashtags either. If you're trying to build a conversation and you put 8 hashtags in it, the internet doesn't know which one of those conversations you really want to be in. Be very specific. 2, 3 is my max. Creating a persona profile. Persona profiles are all the new rage for human-centered design. So you can actually probably Google persona profile and find one, a template. This one I got from Mural because they were doing an event with Luma. Luma is a local human-centered design company and they're actually internationally known. So if you can find any of their products that are out or any of their templates that are out in the world, grab them. If somebody offers you the option to go to a Luma event, go. If you do nothing else for yourself, buy their little cards because it will help you do some human-centered design all throughout your business. But I like them for persona profiles. What's a persona profile? It's really a sketch of what a person's demographics are like that you're trying to target. So let's say I do data visualizations a lot now, much more than social media or data management. So who would be somebody that I would want to focus on is an organization that is looking for a CRM, correct? But what does that person look like? Like, what is a general description of them? I would probably say they are an executive level person. They are looking to streamline their reporting. They want to be able to tell better stories to their stakeholders and funders about the information and work that they are doing. How do they feel about online engagement? They may be overwhelmed by the amount of data that they have. And what would I say would be their online experience as something that's a quick quote for them? They may say, there's too many CRMs and I have too many forms. It's just too much. They say put a picture with the person. I love it. I go on Canva, I find my little person that I want to be the picture, and I make a whole story about them. I mean, like a whole story, like, this is Sally, give that person a name. This is Sally, she's a 32-year-old mom. She's looking for whatever she's looking for. She's looking to redo her kid's bedroom. She just bought a house. She makes about $75,000 a year, right? You get where I'm going. A persona profile is a profile of the person who will be buying your product. But do not only limit it to the person that buys your product. Think about the persona profile of a stakeholder that you want to invest in you. Because you're going to talk to them differently than you're going to talk to somebody who's buying your product. And think about the community people who you want to talk to engage with your business, to support it. That's the people like RCI. You get a whole different message for an RCI than you got for the person who is the direct consumer, for the person than the person who you want to invest in your business, whether they're a funder, a direct investor, a loan officer. Each one of those people have a different story that you would tell them. And each one of them you need to create a persona profile for. Thank you, Danielle, for sharing your story, because I will get that in there too. So Danielle, you probably have tons of persona profiles that you could do. So for you, you're going to have to try to limit it, right? You might got people who are professionals and only want to get their hair done monthly, right? Because that's a different type of clientele person than somebody who's coming to you every 2 weeks and you know that she got to get her hair done at 6 in the morning because she got a bunch of things to do. And that relationship is intimate. And so knowing that is going to be key. I rarely go to the hair salon because I'm always like, how long am I going to be there? Blah, blah, blah. But if I could find a stylist who knew like, hey, she wants internet access, she wanted to be quiet in here, get in and get out, I'd be like, okay, thank you. How are you educating the people, right? So barbershop too. How are you educating the people that you work with? Because after they leave, they need those tips in those middle of the days. Your hair you was like, oh, my hair look good coming out the salon. And then you go, 2 days later, you be like, it don't look like I ever seen that person a day in my life. So that's where you might want to start your persona profiles at what does the person that I'm trying to educate look like? They may not be a person who uses a hair salon every day. They may be somebody who's like, I'm gonna do my hair at home to save money, or they're just not into the hair salon. Anybody got any quick questions about persona profiles?
Yeah, I have a question. So once you create this persona profile, is that just for you or do you post it?
Oh, that's just for you. It's internal.
It's just, okay.
It's just for you, so that once you start actually creating social media posts,
right,
you create it towards that persona profile. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like, oh, well, if I was talking to Sally, this is what I would say to her. So it's kind of just getting you in the mindset of who would I be talking to and what are their demographics. Now, it's also going to play a part when you're looking at your KPIs and matrix, right? Mm-hmm. Because social media lets you define your target audience often, doesn't it? On the back end, when you want to do a promoted post, it'll say, what area do they live in? What's their income level? What are their hobbies? What are their keywords and tags, right? What's their educational attainment? So it can ask you all those questions. That's why you create the persona profile, so that when you go on your back end to set up your promoted post, all those questions, you're like, oh, well, this is going to Sally. So I want to click the boxes that I've already set up for Sally in my persona profile, right? Hoping all the Sallys in the world who meet this demographic going to get my post. Somebody's going to convert, at least 2 of them. And that's how you start to test that.
Okay. So this might be a dumb question.
None of these questions are dumb,
I don't know. So
Never a dumb question, Tony. We
Ever.
always tell you that.
so once you keep track of these persona profiles, would you ever use this for your data analytics at all?
Yeah, you are. That's what the KPI part's for.
Okay.
It's all going to
Alright.
tie back together. The persona
Okay.
profile is to give you like, what are the demographics of the boxes I'm going to end up checking when
Okay.
I start to tell Facebook I want to do a promoted post.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
And then when you start to get your KPIs back and your insights, you're going to be like, oh, all the people who was 45 and lived in Penn Hills really liked my post. I might want to try to do some targeted stuff in that neighborhood
Yes.
on the ground versus like nobody downtown looked at my post.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. So while you're thinking about your target audience though, since we're still talking about that and your personas, the one question that I ask all the time, and it'll be on the template that I have, is where are they at? Because if I want to tell you, if you're like, oh, I'm on Facebook, but all your people on Twitter, you talking to yourself, you're doing a lot of talking on Facebook, but the people you need to talk to is on Twitter, or they might be on TikTok, or they're probably on LinkedIn, right? People like Pinterest goes crazy on visuals. Like if you do hair, housing, you can go on
Yeah.
Pinterest and live it up and not even have to do a lot of copy, meaning text word, as long as you got good visuals. Pinterest is about visuals. But if you are a virtual assistant, you probably want to be on LinkedIn, right? Because that's where the people who need virtual assistants is spending their time at, on LinkedIn, trying to get more people.
Right. I did start build my profile on LinkedIn. I just have to go back and fine tune it, so that I can, get busy and, selling myself or marketing myself, I guess I should say.
And so your channels are about where the people are, right? You ain't showing up you ain't showing up to talk about hair at somewhere your hair gets completely destroyed. I was going to say swimming, but I would show up to the swimming pool to talk about hair education. So I can't go with that one. That was a bad analogy. But you get what I'm saying. You wouldn't show up to a barbecue trying to sell fingernails. It just don't make sense. Like at a barbecue, my fingernails is trying to get dirty. That's not my sales channel, right? Social media is the same thing. It's just, you don't show up on a channel that you can't sell to the people on. So if your work is not visual, don't try to be all on TikTok, right? You ain't doing no video dance. You don't got no 1 minute to show off. TikTok is not your space. Don't be like, oh, let me go set up a whole TikTok channel. For what? Who you TikToking with? Now, you got a quick hairstyle that you can show off. You might want to drop a TikTok channel. But then you got to think about the frequency of how often you are going to do it. And is that your target, right? Or the people who are on TikTok, your target, or the people who are on Instagram, your target, because they 2 different targets of people. TikTok is a much younger age of people and it's skewing. So we'll say millennials. I'm not using that term, geriatric millennials, but I've heard that one. I don't but you know, this is more of a millennial thing, while Instagram is a little bit of a different thing, right? So where are the people at? Do not pick channels just because your friend's on the channel and she own a barbershop. Great. I'm glad that the barbershop is working for you on Pinterest, but it ain't working for me as a shoemaker. Okay? Nobody, like, this just not working for me here. But TikTok is working for me as a shoemaker, but it ain't working for you as a barber. Okay? So you got to play the channel for your audience. Look, we can talk about all the channels we want. LinkedIn is a must-have channel. Whether you create a LinkedIn business page, now that's a whole nother story. Totally recommend it if your business is business to business, meaning you're a business that's trying to get other businesses. You need to be on LinkedIn in a business profile session. If you are a business, but your clientele can be independent, meaning like they could just be a customer or a contractor or something like that, you still need to be on LinkedIn. If you're a business owner, you need to be on LinkedIn because you need a business profile so if somebody's looking for you. You might not have any other social channels as a business owner, but LinkedIn is the one you should have because that's all it's about is professional networking. Also, look, as people who often get caught up in governance and agencies, know who your governing bodies are for your business. So if OSHA is one of your governing bodies, follow OSHA. That don't mean you got to retweet everything OSHA say. That means you are always informed of what OSHA is communicating to the world. If you don't have a government agency, who's your advocacy group, right? Who's your industry leading group? What governance is a part of your business that people often don't think about? Because those are social media nuggets for content, right? I knew when GDPR was coming out, which is the rule around the European Unions for data collection. I followed that. I had been following it long before it became the law. So sometimes following things before they become a law puts you as a thought leader. You can be trusted to the people who you are serving. It's not even that you always have to agree with it. If you even want to take a hot take, but make sure if you take a hot take that you are concrete in that hot take, that you got research to follow up with. Don't just take a hot take and be big wrong. Don't just take a hot take and be big wrong. Have some research to go behind your big take if it's not in alignment with a governing body. The other channel that is a must-have channel, Google Business Profile. Look, the Google Business Profile is how when you search on Google, somebody's little profile comes up on the side and they'll say like their business name, it might have a picture, it may have their website, you could share it, it'll start showing their reviews. It's because they have a Google Business Profile. If you have a Google Business Profile, go in there and update it every so often because Google needs you to update stuff. That's that little SEO back end stuff. Here's the thing. Every time you update something, whether it's your website, SEO page, landing pages, that tells the internet there was an update. So it pushes it back into the system. So back into search results. That's why there are some people who blog all the time. It's not necessarily for the content, it's because it keeps updating their websites. And every time you update your website, it updates in the search engine, okay? So sometimes that's one of those quarterly things you go in and update. Even if you don't change your hours, add a new phrase to it. Have somebody do a review for you. Whoever you took the coffee, be like, hey, write a review while you here at coffee. Get your $10 worth. Get your $10 worth while you're there. Tell them send it to you on email. Send them a coffee gift card if you don't want to have to meet. But Google Business Profile is essential. And make sure it's accurate. If you update your web page, update your Google profile. Also, little hot tip, since there's Google Actions now, which means there's Google Assistant, if you've had a Google business profile for a long time and you haven't gone in a while, you need to go in and check a box that says, allow Google Assistant search and call. Because now, then if somebody has a Google Assistant, maybe like one of those little voice assistants, they could actually call you off the voice assistant. Because they could just say your company's name and it'll pull it up because you're in the Google search engine because you have a Google business profile. And so they could be hands-free calling. So if you work with disabled people or people who may frequently not have access to their hands, use those features. Facebook has expanded so much since I started doing this. Originally, it was just the content, the post. Now you can create stories, you can go live, you can live broadcast your webinars or educational things. If you're going to do an education series and you're already going to do a Zoom webinar or a Zoom meeting of it, broadcast it on your Facebook page. Unless it's like for an elite group of people, like you got a special Facebook group of people, you can also just broadcast in your Facebook group. But if you're actually doing the work, let them come in live. If it doesn't work out, you can just stop the live feature and then save it. Save your video that you did and then send it out in your newsletter later, right? Because that gets another expanded way too. Reuse your content. Do not be out here making 99,000 pieces of content. Sometimes you can make, in a good month, you should make about 12 pieces of content minimum. At the most, probably not minimum, at the most. Because you can reuse them. 4 quotes, that's a quote each week. 4 videos. Get some gifts in there if gifts are appropriate for your people. If gifts are not appropriate for your target audience, do not use gifts or memes. If the meme is going to go over people's heads and you got to explain it, it's not for your social media. It's not. If you got to explain it, it's not for them. Instagram and Facebook, because they're owned by the same people, harness the buying features on there. They now have buttons that'll let you check out or schedule an appointment with somebody. Use them. Turn on your insights. Yes. Instagram business gives you insights. Facebook business gives you insights. You can actually, if you connect your Facebook business page and your Instagram business page, you see your insights in one section of Facebook. Don't double out your work. Now, the quote you use on Instagram, you might use it again on LinkedIn, but the copy you write is not going to be the same, okay? The little caption you write for it, don't copy it verbatim. Do a little tweaking, another word, because the people on LinkedIn ain't the same people on Instagram. And don't send them at the same exact time. LinkedIn, you can hit at like 8:30 in the morning. Instagram, you can hit at 11 o'clock in the morning, right? Same but different, right? You can do it on 2 different days, one on a Monday, one on a Wednesday. I love Twitter. That's where you'll find me at the most. because I love hashtags and I love real-time conversations. So Twitter is if you like hashtags. Twitter is if you want to be in an instant conversation with some folks. Twitter now offers spaces, which is like, it's like Clubhouse, but for Twitter. So like you can just drop into a conversation and people have scheduled conversations. They just released it officially, maybe the end of last year. So people are starting to set up spaces, right? Where, oh, I'm going to do a talk at 6 o'clock in this Twitter space. And then people just come in and listen. So Clubhouse blew up during the pandemic. People are still using it to host conversations. If your work is something that you can just talk to people about, or you want to get a conversation started about, host something like that, that you're a conversation starter. If your work is not visual, your work is not, videos and stuff, work what works for you. Maybe it's a 30-minute meeting. How you fix your hair in the morning? What do you do to keep it moisturized in the winter? Why do people wear satin, right? Like, it don't gotta be grand, but hey, here's a 30-minute call, a 30-minute talk about this. You could, 15 minutes is all you on stage, get the other 15 minutes to people to ask questions. You can save these things now. Here's the great thing about when you save them. Every website lets you just put straight audio up. Drop the audio on your website. You don't got a website, you're like, I ain't there yet, Shamira. You got SoundCloud. If you don't, get a SoundCloud account. Drop it on SoundCloud. So instead of music, you drop in your whole little Clubhouse, because everybody ain't on Clubhouse. But SoundCloud is, you can listen to without being a SoundCloud member. Sometimes you got to hack the tech for you. I can honestly say I do not and have not ever had a TikTok or Snapchat account. I like to think I'm more mature than that. I'm really not. I'm not going to do the videos, that's all. But I am that silly that I would do videos. And if you're doing dance studio, or you think like, hey, I can do one of these challenges, or I work with kids, or my construction team wants to do something fun and teach people how to do the stretch in the morning. Like we got our own little stretches in the morning. Fine, do that. Make it your niche. Kill TikTok. People will love a good TikTok challenge. If you got a good challenge that you can do that's visual and viral, and you can get other people to get along with you, do it. Also, the greatest thing about social media at this point is make connections outside of your local area. So we are now based places, but we now know remote work is here. It, a couple of years ago, it was like, it's here. But now it's like, oh, I work with Sally. She in Puerto Rico. She just left the US because COVID, and she could work from home. So she lives in Puerto Rico right now, and she might be back. Start connecting with people in other places. Find out what they're doing. You don't got to copy it, but you might be like, oh, I never even thought to think about it like that, because they got something else happening in their community. Also, it's a great way to make a real challenge, right? It cascades not only locally, but you could be like, nah, we're getting ready to do this nationally, or we're getting ready to do this across the state. Think about your networks. That's also, if you are in a sorority, a fraternity, national organization, whether it's, the National Business Alliance or international engineering thing, use those networks. They're on social media. Some of the people that you wish that you could talk to, you can talk to. Be bold. Don't be crass, but be bold, okay? There's a fine line. There's a fine line. right? If you send somebody a message that was like, you feel like they're a great influencer and you hit them up in their DMs and they ain't hit you back in 2 days, don't DM them again. Give it a week, maybe 10 days. If somebody got 2 million followers, how many times do you think they're in DMs? Make your DM sweet too. Don't half-step a DM when you come in. If you go into somebody's DMs, be very specific about what you need and what you're asking. So if you asking somebody, can they meet with you? Be very specific about time, where you live at, what you want to talk about. There are several times that I have tagged corporations to ask for stuff. I think I tagged PNY last year because I had these old bracelets that they used to make, and I wanted to know that they still make the parts or somebody had the parts at the office. They wrote me back and they was like, oh, I seen your LinkedIn post and I found you on Twitter. We don't have them no more, but we would support you in getting something else. And I was like, but I don't want the other things you're trying to get me, but I appreciate it. And they were like, if you ever need something else, reach out. I've reached out to artists to ask them, hey, would you collaborate with me? Would you come do a talk for me? Know what you want and know exactly, be very specific. Because if you're very specific versus like, hey girl, you nice, I really like your work, blah, blah. That's great, but what do you want? So tell them exactly what you want. Twitch, live stream. If you're a gamer, you're probably on Twitch. If you just like to create video, you can do Twitch. Twitch is much more for gamers than doing live stream. Twitch is a platform where people watch people do stuff, and it's typically video gaming. Venmo, YouTube, all if you're a video content creator. If you're like, I don't really do videos, I don't want to do videos, there are several people who do great video work. I do believe RCI has a YouTube workshop coming up, maybe at the end of this month. James will drop notes about that. Medium, MailChimp, WordPress, all blog formats for the basic point. If you are a content writer, meaning like you like to write 1,000 words or more, you want to give instructions to somebody, you want to write an educational piece for people, you want to do a how-to, but you don't want to make a video. Medium, MailChimp, WordPress. Any of those will work. LinkedIn will work too, because now LinkedIn offers a blog feature. If you are not technically savvy and you do not have a big bandwidth, do not add on extra. If you're like, I will blog every once in a blue moon, or I will write long form is now what it's being called, just use your LinkedIn profile because it'll let you write long form and share it across your platform. Then save it as a PDF. We forget to save what we write, because sometimes people write articles about you and eventually they go away because they redesign their website. So if you've had an article written about you, please go and print it as a PDF for your records. Spotify. I love Spotify because I'm a music lover. I start my sessions with music. Y'all heard me ask y'all what music gets y'all what gets you excited. You can share music playlists, right? You be like, hey, you need to sort your email. Here's a 30-minute playlist because that's about how long it's going to take you. And here goes some steps for you too. I love doing that. It's like I gave you a time frame. I gave you where they're at. I gave you what to do. Jam on, jam on. Also, Spotify lets you do collaborative playlists and group listening sessions. So maybe you're doing a writing session and you want everybody to join in and they could actually just listen to all the same music together. However, when you do a group listening session, all the people in the group, anyone can change the song. You can do a collaborative playlist, which means people from anywhere can add songs to your playlist. Great. Here's another tip. on playlists in Spotify. I think somebody else lets you do this. Spotify will let you put music and podcasts on a playlist. You're thinking, so what? If your people are walkers, maybe they got long commutes to work, maybe you know that they're going to be stuck under the under the blow dryer for 35 minutes. Put a playlist together with a podcast episode in it. Be like, girl, I done gave you some learning and some music. You all good now. You don't even got to create all your educational content yourself. Use somebody else's who's actually already doing it, and you can just fill in where you need to. Create that playlist. You can share it in your newsletter through MailChimp or WordPress or wherever else you're at. Make it work for you. I love a good playlist that got music and a podcast episode because I can throw it on when I go on my morning walks. I done got some learning in, got some music in, got my exercise, and I'm feeling good, feeling great. Discourse, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's almost like Reddit. It's just an online forum for people to have discourse and talk and share resources or anything else. Amazon Alexa, just like Google Assistant. However, Amazon Alexa has this awesome feature called flash briefings. So how the flash briefing works is when you say to your Alexa, what's the news? If you have a flash briefing, it will say your news. So how does it generate your news? Off of an RSS. What's an RSS? It's called a Real Syndicate, Real Simple Syndicate. But if you run a blog, guess what you automatically have? An RSS. So every time you would blog, and your Alexa skill would get updated, and then the people who have your Alexa skill could just say, what's the news? I'm pretty sure I have a video using my Alexa skill somewhere around. I will share it with James so that he can share it with you guys. Patreon is a paid platform. You can actually offer free memberships, but it is designed so that you have membership level followers. So maybe some people get free content, then maybe you got people who pay $5 a month, and they get another level of content, and people who may pay $10 a month, they get a whole nother level of content. And that way you automatically monetize your content. On YouTube, MailChimp, YouTube and blogging, or vlogging and blogging, it's a catch-22. You hope that the people follow you and vlog, that the platform will pay you, but that's not always a guarantee. With Patreon, you're saying, if you actually want to even access my stuff, you need to pay first. KPIs. They're just how you monitor your stuff. There is a great blog post that I have mentioned at the bottom that gives you the formula for about 32 different KPI performance measures. It'll give you the reason why they're there. I didn't want to overwhelm you with all 32 of them because that's a lot when you don't know which one you want to use yet. But it helps you with, and why they're designed is so that you can create an objective. If you're spending your time doing social media with no objectives, it's not going to be fruitful. You're just putting content out there. You need to be strategic and intentional. So you need to say, what is my goal? Make it a SMART goal. We've talked about SMART goals. I know that RCI has talked about SMART goals. I got that from them, or that's where I've heard that at previously. Set up matrix, literally. How many new followers do you want per month? It don't got to be 500. It could be 5. I will tell you this. It is better to have 2,000 committed followers than 2 million followers and only 20 people actually listening to you. Because if your goal is just reach, yeah, you got 2 million followers, but that's so, that's what you gonna do with them? All 2 million people ain't converting. All 2 million people ain't converting all the time. So be smart about it. Maybe you want 5 followers. Maybe you figure out your rhythm and your routine of your content and you be like, okay, girl, I can give you 10 followers. That first month you hit your KPIs, you're gonna be excited. Maybe you're like, hey, I'm dropping a new download, a downloadable workbook. And I'm gonna I need a social media campaign about it. So I want to convert 10 sellers, meaning from 10 of these posts I put out, 10 people actually clicked on this and bought this stuff, okay? That's a conversion one, right? A reach one is I want to gain more followers. An engagement one is, hey, I want to take one of those hot takes, or maybe I want to do some education, but I want people to engage with me on this. So how many comments are you getting? How many reshares do you get? Those are the things that you would measure. Please don't just set up a KPI set up and then don't look at it. Look at it at least quarterly. Share it with your people. Take somebody to coffee to look at it. Get that friend. We all got that friend who we wish they had a better filter, but they don't, because they'll be honest with you. Ask them, because they're going to be honest with you. We all got our friend that's our champion. They're always going to champion you. They're not the person when you need critical feedback. They're the person when you had a bad day. When you need some critical feedback about how you're spending your money and it's not converting, go ask the person who's going to be honest with you. Spend the $5, take them to coffee. Be like, girl, you've been looking at my social media. This is the numbers. You don't even got to tell them the numbers up front. Just ask them. Have a list of questions though. Don't just be out there asking random questions. Be very specific. Know what your benchmarks are. Know what you really wanted to measure. Set up a budget too. Look, a lot of these platforms are free. A lot of the things you can do organically, meaning you don't need to pay for them. But honestly, as a business owner, think of it as your marketing budget. Set up a budget. It could be $10 a month. That's fine. It could be $5 a month. All of your posts don't need to be boosted or promoted or paid, but pick some so that you can really look at your KPIs. You need a budget behind it. It doesn't have to be massive. Create a spreadsheet or a dashboard to collect all these analytics. Facebook will let you download yours. Twitter will let you download yours. YouTube will let you download them too. Here's a little tip and trick. I highly recommend that you use something like Zapier or Power BI, their automating systems, and let them automate it, that they'll download it every so often and put it on a spreadsheet for you. It'll take you about 20 minutes to set up the automation. And this snap block, it's not like really detailed, it's snap block. If not, just download them, save them to your to your cloud and go and look at them.
What were the names again?
Zapier,
Z-A-P-I-E.
Yeah, IER, and then Power Automate. Trello has some good features too for pulling off your social media insights. They actually have a couple of pre-done boards, so you can use one of their butlers to actually automate it for yourself.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You will eventually find some people who are your brand ambassadors. You don't need to actually do anything special for them. But once again, those are the people you really want to meet with maybe twice a year. Ask them, what kind of things do you want to see on social media from us? What are we missing? Because if they're liking all your posts, they buying, they converting, they resharing your stuff. Don't pick your sister because she just love you. She want to see you succeed. Pick somebody who you never met, don't know, or you only know them through your social media channels or something like that. I did, that's the end of my presentation, but I did put together a short template. Can you guys see that now? Or are you still seeing my?
We're still seeing your,
Thank you.
the
Thank
last
you.
slide of the last slide of your deck, but I sent her the template. If you want to try to pull it up, please feel free to do so.
I'm going to pull it up and run through it really quick, and then I'll leave it open for questions. So I made a fillable one too. This one's plain, but James got the fillable one, so you can just type right on it. Listen to your industry. Who you going to listen to? Name some of those industry leaders and influencers. Write some of these hashtags down. Make your little persona person. Put a picture in there if you want. Put their characteristics, their expectations, their behaviors, their fears. I got a couple of little questions to get you started if you're like, I completely forgot what she was talking about when she was in this section. Put the quotes there. This is the beginning part before you even pick your channels, right? That we talked about early on. Now, this is the nitty-gritty about building social media posts, right? What is your purpose for creating this post? You trying to educate the people? Or are you trying to celebrate partnerships? Are you trying to celebrate a customer success? Celebrate your team members. Look, you go big on celebrating team members. Your team member did something, celebrate them. Informing about an event, informing about community assistance, because you just might know, because somebody might have told you. Now, what channel do you want to be on? What is the link that you're going to put on this social media post? If there is none, that's fine. But if there is one, put it on there. You're using an image, a video, a GIF, an infographic, a chart, something else as your visual. Because humans are visual people. You don't always have to have a visual, but a good visual could go a long way. When you're going to send it, time, date, what's the copy? What's the words that are going over top of it? I am not the grammar guru, but get you a grammar guru or get Grammarly. What is the call to action that you want this person to do on this social media post? You don't need to tell them necessarily unless you need to tell them, but what is your goal? We're back to that measurable goal. Was your goal for this post for them to reshare it, to engage with it, to click on the link, to watch the video, to scroll through the infographic? I even asked, what were you trying to actually measure? Your reach, your conversion, your engagement, so that you have a space to start thinking about it. Before you even start putting in all the work to just do social media, what am I trying to actually tell? What story am I trying to tell? So think of your social media campaign as a chapter in your book, right? It's not always the same, but the flow is consistent. You don't got chapter 1 and then chapter 2, you like, who? I ain't never met none of these people. This is, even in an adventure story where you get to pick at the end of the chapter, it still got some consistency, right? You can still follow along. Think of your social media as a chapter book. So each campaign is a chapter. What are you trying to tell in that story? What do you want people to be engaged with? What do you want people to remember from that campaign in that chapter of your business's digital presence. Don't forget, the internet don't delete. Even if you think it was deleted, it don't delete. And remember, when people search you, they don't know if it's your business or personal profile. When I go on Google and type in Shamira Williams, it just gives me Shamira Williams. It don't be like Shamira Williams business person, Shamira Williams personal person. So remember that even as other people tag you, because that's how that information get in there too. I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, feel free.
Thank you. It was great information.
Thank you all.
It sure was. Thank you so much, Shamira and James.
Thank you. Thank you.
James, did you say you sent this form to us?
Yes, so I sent you the template. You have the what is this called? The Canva.
Yeah, it's just a social media template that I made.
Media
Canvas.
Canva template, and then you also have the deck for the night, so you have the slides as well.
It's on a Google Drive.
No, I sent it to you directly. So it's
Oh, okay.
Yep. So everybody that attended this evening has the template as well
Okay.
as the slides.
Okay, great.
James, can Shamira put her contact information back up for a second?
Yes. I spoke too soon, but I believe she can do it.
Yes,
I'm
yes, I
trying to get-
can. Yes, I can. Give me a
Thank
second.
you.
And I will just drop it into the chat. So you
Chat.
can
Okay, that'll be great. That'll be
copy
great.
it out.
All righty.
So with that said, we will be wrapping up tonight's presentation. This is part of RCI's Boost Your Business webinar series. We heard a very detailed, informative, fruitful presentation from my colleague, our subject matter expert for this evening, Shamira Williams. Let's all give her a round of applause. You can do that in your reactions.
Yeah.
But I always learn something, getting a chance to interact and listen to Shamira in terms of she's giving us pointers or she's actually delivering a presentation. So it's always an iron sharpening iron conversation in a conference. With that said, we will be closing out this evening. We make sure you're practicing the RCI creed, which is safety first, safety second, safety third. When in doubt, go back to the first one. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, I did email everybody the template as well as the slides for this evening. And I look forward to getting your business to $1 million in revenue. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thank
You
you.
too.